Welcome to worship at First Unitarian Church of Orlando. My name is Neil Boris. I'm a member of this congregation and a member of the worship team, and I'm very pleased to welcome you today. I'm also pleased to welcome 2021. If you're like me, letting go of 2020 actually feels pretty good. Now, our words for welcome today come from Monica Jacobson Tennyson, who wrote, "Welcome. What you bring, who you are, enriches us all. We say welcome to your joy, your hope, your pride. We say welcome to your grief, your fear, your anger. And the parts of you that are not yet ready to be seen and heard, welcome to them as well. May this time together be a blessing." Now, we're glad you're here this morning. If you have interest in our congregation and want some more information about who we are, the slide on your screen now will connect you through to our website. And you can email our welcome team. You see their email in front of you now as well. We want to welcome you not just to today's service, but to our congregation. Now, we've got many things going on. The beginning of a new year brings in many exciting opportunities. So after our service today at about 11:30, we're going to have an informal fellowship where you can gather with each other and chat on Zoom here or via any other means that you're connecting with us for about 20 minutes time. If you're new and have questions about our congregation, you'll enjoy our Welcome Center. So that's another opportunity for you later this morning at 11:30. Now, on the first Sundays of the month, and of course this is not only the first Sunday of the month, but the first Sunday of the new year, there's also a special gathering at 11:30 when our congregation has a monthly discussion entitled Wrestling with Our Understanding of Racism. And today we'll discuss two articles on racism and public safety. If you're interested in this, then the link on your screen will lead you on to that information. And all of this material that I'm going over with you now will be available at the end of the service today. So if you missed anything, don't worry. We'll repeat the slides at the end of the service today. Some other special events happening in our congregation this week include a blood drive on campus on Wednesday of this week from 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. More information is in our weekly update. And of course, this is a wonderful opportunity to give blood in a safe way. Our One Blood team is very aware of how in our time to have blood donations happen safely. And certainly you bringing a mask is the first step in that process. So please do sign up to give blood on Wednesday of this week. As always, one thing we like to do in our congregation is our Share the Plate offering. It's a once a month offering for us. And this very first month of January, our Share the Plate organization is Planned Parenthood of Southwest and Central Florida. So on your screen is more information about this wonderful organization, about this partner of ours, and we're very excited to support them as we have with this congregation for many years. Now, there are various ways that you can contribute to our Share the Plate offering. Of course, we are all about giving, and in addition to giving to outside organization, must always think about and remind ourselves each week why we support the ministries of the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I must say, for me and for my entire family, supporting this church is a way of giving back, not just to the church, but to the broader community. I think all of us should give as generously as we can to the missions and ministries of our various church. Now, if you're interested in making an offering to support our many ministries, look at the information now in front of you. And there are really three ways to do this quite simply. The first is to go to our website, orlandouu.org, and click the donate button in the upper right-hand corner. But there's a text option for giving and an old school option for giving, sending a check through the mail. And that information is on the screen together. Listen, it's great to start out this year together. Of course, the sermon today will be about thinking forward into our new year. And I, again, am excited about the possibility and the opportunities that 2021 will bring us. But for now, let's join together in song as we start our worship. Cheers.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning and Happy New Year. I'm Samuel Shaw, Transition Minister. We have a special worship service for you this morning. Our own Nikki Drum is preaching about using the power of our imagination as the new year unfolds. These words from Kathleen McTeague call us together. We stand at a threshold, the new year something truly new, still unformed, leaving a stunning power in our hands. What shall we do with this great gift of time this year? Let us begin by remembering that whatever justice, whatever peace and wholeness might bloom in our world this year, we are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. The new year can be new ground for the seeds of our dreams. Let us take the step forward together onto new ground, planting our dreams well, faithfully, and in joy. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Logan Donahue, and I am a member of the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. It's my honor to be here with you this morning. Unitarian Universalists at the beginning of their services usually start with the lighting of a chalice, a symbol of our faith, and also a representation that we're entering into sacred time together. So, if you will, please recite with me these words as I light today's chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Gray, religious educator here at First Unitarian Church of Orlando. It's wonderful to be with you all this first morning of the new year. And to start off, first, congratulations! You made it through a really tough year. 2020 was full of events that were, to use words you are probably really sick of hearing, strange and unprecedented. And 2021 will, in likelihood, be more of the same, although there is more light at the end of the tunnel we are currently in. Getting through these lockdowns, social distancing, protests, political trauma, sickness, loss, all of this takes a great deal of resilience, but also great amounts of imagination. How in the past year did you tap into your imagination to make the new world you were in seem a little bit more familiar? Or how did you use it to escape a bit, using your creativity or creating new imaginary worlds? How can you use your imagination to build an even better future when and if things ever get back to normal? Our story today explores how, with the right simple tool and boundless imagination, we too can create vast imaginary worlds when we want, or find home and comfort when we need it. Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. Made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path, so he left the path for a short cut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly he realized what was happening. But by then Harold was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry, so he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think of where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was. There was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep.
We began with a time of mindfulness, meditation, and prayer, with the hearings of the joys and concerns in our congregation and the world. We had no submitted joys or concerns from the congregation this week, but in this season, let us remember, for us and for all, the endings in our lives as the old year winds down, that with which we should let go, and the beginnings in our lives, that which is perhaps just beginning to emerge, beginning to show itself as the new year of hope and possibility unfolds. And as always, we remember the unspoken cares and concerns among us, and we know that the light of the sacred shines into the dark and broken places of our lives and all life. In a moment, when Nikki offers the meditation, please use either Facebook comments or Zoom chat to name anyone in your life who needs prayer, remembering or honoring in our communion of names. Now, let's sing to open our hearts.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
For this meditative journey, let's imagine going back in time. Let's go back 1 year to early January 2020. Take a moment to try and recall, what do you see? What did the new year look like for you at this point? What hopes, dreams, goals, and resolutions did you imagine for yourself? What fears, worries, struggles were you facing? What were you determined to let go of, to change? What did you consciously commit to keeping and unconsciously assume you'd hold on to? Now, imagine going forward in time, 1 year from now to January 2022. What do you see? What did 2021 look like for you? What hopes, dreams, goals, and resolutions were tried and came to fruition for you? What struggles have you overcome? What have you consciously held dear and held on to? And what things, habits, ideas did you liberate yourself from and found a way to let go? And now, come back to this time, this place, right now, today. Take a deep breath, shrug your shoulders, and exhale, being okay with not knowing the answers to some of those questions, and embracing the awe and the unexpected possibilities of life's mysteries.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
Good morning and Happy New Year 2021. If you had asked me a year ago to imagine myself living in a 240 square foot RV with one drawer for clothes and few other possessions for 5 months, far away from my home and community, among hundreds of strangers 12 feet apart from each other, spotty Wi-Fi, and taking some shifts cleaning bathrooms on the weekends, I would have said, I can kind of picture that, but I have trouble imagining I would leap at that opportunity. And yet, in a series of unfortunate events and fortunate events, generosity of others, and our spirit of open-minded adventure and creative problem solving, Rachel and I had the previously unimaginable opportunity to go live in Maine from June to October 2020 in an oceanside campground on an island that's mostly comprised of Acadia National Park and beautiful mountains. It was amazing. It was a great way to social distance and to part with a lot of our stuff temporarily. We even made the liberating decision not to have our mail forwarded to us. When we touched back down here at home in late October in Orlando, one of the first things I did was catch up on back issues of UU World magazine, published by our Unitarian Universalist Association. The spring 2020 issue opens with a message from our UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. How is your spirit, your body and mind and heart these days? She asks. It's early in the new year, and already there's been so much tragedy. Terrifying hate crimes, devastating fires in Australia, escalating conflict with Iran, daily breaking news on the president's impeachment. Honestly, I don't know what more might have happened between me writing this and you receiving it. Well, now we know what more happened. After a year that Reverend Frederick Gray and most of us could not imagine, do we even dare try imagining what could be in 2021? Well, imagination often starts with memories, with looking back, asking us to remember and scrutinize our past, and use it then to construct hypothetical future scenarios that do not yet, but could exist. Imagination is sometimes defined as the ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful. As someone who is artistic and creative and imaginative, those three often get lumped together with people saying, oh, I could never be any of those things. Well, you can be naturally incredibly creative without being artistic. And you can be very imaginative, even without being what we think of as creative. So, even if you don't think of yourself as artistic or creative, you're not off the hook for being imaginative. How you use a paperclip to address a broken zipper, how you stretch your paycheck to the end of the month, how you suspend your disbelief when watching a movie or listening to a story. That's using your imagination. Improvising to derail an argument between your children, remembering something admirable that someone else did and thinking of how you could apply that to your own situation, that's imagination. I like to look back and wonder about our church's founders. What grand things did they imagine that we manifest today? As I came of age in the late 1980s, having access to birth control, a credit card in my own name, voting, were some of the things I just took for granted and frankly couldn't imagine weren't automatic for me. Did the 1U founders imagine that when fighting for women's equality in the early 1900s? I guess they must have. I expected it seemed a little crazy at the time, and that they heard plenty of well-worded rejection. Yet imagining, daring to dream, projecting those ideas so others might see their vision for a more just society. As we know, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King did not rally us with complaints or plans. He imagined a better world and lifted up the dream. When I came out as a lesbian in 2005, one of the things I couldn't really imagine was marriage equality on a federal level. But at that time, in an organized efforts to gain marriage equality, lesbian and gay couples were charged with imagining that we already were married and acting as if. In our words and our actions, living out and openly, behaving like any other normal couple. referring to each other as our spouse instead of our partner. It was weird at first and a little scary at times, but it became more and more natural for me with practice. I witnessed a shift in my own understanding and in others. Acting as if helped others imagine and gave them new language, opened and changed their minds, their beliefs, their actions, the law. This process of imagining and acting as if was important and it worked, but it wasn't without dangers and sacrifices. Like with so many movements for change, some individuals lost their jobs, relationships, family, some even their lives. And like so many movements, we pushed aside those on the fringe, those who didn't fit well in our box of normal. In our concerted effort to act normal, we sacrificed some of our weird. We closed off some of the things that make LGBTQ individuals and couples and groups unique. While I believe Rachel and I were very successful at showing how much we were like any normal couple, and while society really expanded or shifted their definition of what normal is, I kind of want some of our weird back. I want to reclaim some of what makes us unique, different, and to really celebrate diversity. Imagination is often born of being wrong. When I was a child, first learning that the moon doesn't actually change its shape from whole to half to sliver, but that it's actually our shadow of the earth, obscuring some part of its always whole sphere, I assumed that as someone standing on the edge of the earth, I could just reach up my hands and cast shadow puppets on the moon. We relish the imagination of children, when often another way to put it is wrong or not quite right. And yet, the things they're safe to be wrong about and explore and imagine differently will often awaken something childlike in us, and we sometimes just sit in awe. Imagination can be simply to be in awe. As adults, we grow into a world that needs us to be right and to comply with one accepted truth. However, in my work as a graphic designer and as an artist, there's rarely a right and wrong answer. Instead, there are a multitude of possibilities, both good ideas as well as a multitude of bad and wrong ideas, that we give ourselves permission to explore anyway, instead of rejecting out of hand. We sometimes go humbly and hopefully to the temple of the great what if and ask, what if we could somehow cast our shadow on the moon? What if we could take our purple crayon and draw a spaceship, transforming what seems like lunacy into a lunar mission and land on the moon? Imagination can be middling. Our Western culture understands with great regard the beginning of things. We are great at starting some. And we're getting better at endings, like unhealthy relationships, bad ideas, monuments to oppression. But we don't know how to middle very well, to exist in the in-between, let the awkward silence and uncomfortable unknown happen, to let nothing sit for a minute or a month or a year. The seemingly mundane, actionless, non-productive middle. But often the best environment for imagination and outside the box ideas and real change is a minute of nothing. The powerful magic of a little deprivation, withdrawal, distance, quiet stillness. The reward of middling and meditating is in the after, the resensitized, freeing our minds and imaginations to create new possibilities. Imagination is useful in approaching our UU fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Imagining I might actually be wrong about something that I feel pretty sure of, or that something else might also be right, or true, or meaningful for me, for others, that more will be revealed later. That revelation is continuous imagining. In fact, all 7 of our principles are large and lofty and do well to engage imagination. That transcending mystery and wonder, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Empathy and compassion ask us to imagine what it might be like to be in someone else's situation. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all asks us to imagine something better that does not yet, but could exist. In this unimaginable year, we've all had an opportunity to not be normal. In this worldwide timeout, we've had foisted upon us opportunity to middle in the unknown after something hard and hard to imagine had started, and before knowing what or how or when it will end. To be still, quiet, removed, distant, isolated from so many, extremely close to a few, bored, lost, grieving. Time to sit with our sadness, hunger and desire, our doubt and insecurity, without the comfort that comes with distraction and busyness, multitasking. It makes us want to go back to being normal so bad. I can't wait to go back to normal, to sit in the sanctuary in person with this congregation. I never thought of myself as much of a hugger, but I can't wait to hug you all. I think we understand, though, that some things aren't going back to normal. What of normal might we choose to leave in the past, let go? And what of this highly abnormal year we've been through might we want to hold on to? I love being able to connect and worship with people online who live far away or are on a different time schedule. And I hope we find a way to hang on to some of that going forward. 2020 brought about a disruption of normality and thereby could mark an end of much of what was acceptable and even seemed necessary. A large home with drawers full of treasures, or in-person only gatherings held for those with physical access and ability. Here we are on what I suspect is the edge of the middle, where we've got a few more minutes of freedom to mull, to be still, gather up and set our intentions for what we can imagine letting go of now, of releasing, of ending, and what else we might imagine doing instead, moving forward. Those of us who are fortunate enough to survive the unfathomable are in a place where so much more is imaginable and possible. What if the next big movement or fight for change didn't have to go through that typical process of normalizing the different? What if lifting up the value and the beauty and the worth and the dignity of the different was enough this time? May we find a way to use this time and this space as an opportunity to visit our inner temples of the great what if and imagine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As always, my friends, remember, we haven't just been to church, we are the church. And when the church is the church, it is nothing more, it is nothing less, it is nothing other than a place in the world of hope, possibility, and new beginnings. Go this week and all you do. Be the church. Be hope and possibility for the world. Go in grace. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.